Sometimes just knowing why things are the way they are can be really helpful in terms of attitude as well as practical application. There were a lot of things about the RV industry pertaining to service that I didn't understand, so I went and did some more research, and after working with the industry, I learned a few things that have helped me navigate it better. If you have an RV, then this information can help you navigate service better, which is going to get you to the fun faster. In this video, I cover a little bit more from the technician side, why it is that they can't just fix our problem in an hour and send us on our way. You might ask yourself, well, why do I need to know this information? I don't have to know it for my car or my boat or anything else. Well, the difference is we live in our RVs. It's very difficult to bring them down sometimes and just drop them off for service. It's not the same thing. Sometimes we only have so much vacation time and we don't want our RV spending it sitting on the lot. Therefore, knowing this information and understanding what's going on behind the scenes can help you navigate service better, which is going to help you have a better experience. Here are 8 things that I think you need to know about service in the RV industry. First, physical access to the parts. It actually can be very difficult for the technician to get his hands on the parts. We are demanding bigger and bigger spaces with less and less waste, so manufacturers are having to put water pumps and heaters and slide motors in really tough to get to places. Many times the technician's got to dig for a little while to find it behind a panel, under the shower, behind the couch. Sometimes they literally have to remove portions of the coach or slides in order to get to the part just to diagnose it. The second thing that you need to know has to do with parts. Now, Parts gets its own video called What You Need to Know About Parts in the RV Industry. I encourage you to go check that out. But parts in this industry is like nothing that you've ever experienced before. Manufacturers are not just sitting around on a bunch of parts waiting for them to get ordered and delivered, so there's not a lot of inventory, even on the parts that you might think that they should have. So check out that video for a little more explanation on why that is. Third, builds are not consistent. That is always something that surprises people when I talk to them about the RV industry. We can have the exact same coach come off the exact same line, even on the exact same day, built by the exact same people, and it's not the same coach in terms of where components are. A couple of things happen that make this happen. One of them is maybe the manufacturer had to change vendors partially through that build, and they got a different kind of a shower or a different kind of a sink. And because of that, they had to reroute plumbing or reroute wiring that wasn't originally part of the plan. When this happens, other weird things can happen, such as parts being on your RV that are not on the schematic, or the other way around, parts are on the RV that are not in the schematics. For example, I'm supposed to have a 5-post bird according to the manual that I'm looking at, the schematics in front of me. But when I go open the back end of my RV and I look down, it's a 4-post bird. And even the manufacturer tells me it's supposed to be a 5-post bird. So if the manufacturer doesn't know exactly what's in there, they can't exactly tell me what I'm looking at because it's different than what's in the paperwork, how is it that we're expecting the technicians to know as much or even more? Okay, the fourth thing that you need to know is how difficult it is to replicate the issue. Now, this is true anytime you're getting service, pretty much on anything. You've got to be able to replicate the issue for the technician, and that will help them troubleshoot and diagnose what's going on. Now, in an RV, if we take it in and we can't replicate the issue, or we say something like, well, it happens at 2 in the morning after the fridge has been on for 7 hours, but the motor hasn't been running for 4 hours. What's the technician supposed to do with that? I mean, we know our RVs because we're in them, we sleep in them, we hear the sounds, we experience the light flicker, we experience the different things that happen. The technician does not get that benefit, and we take it in and just ask him to figure that out. Well, unless we're going to pay him to sleep in the coach for 10 hours, he's not going to run into the same issue when he needs to. So you'll get better service if you can replicate the issue before you take it in. And if you can't, just recognize he's fighting an uphill battle trying to help you out. The fifth thing that you need to know is growth. And you might say, well, this isn't my problem, I don't care. It is our problem. We are a part of an industry that is growing faster than it ever has. This growth is actually causing a few issues because the service centers cannot keep up with the growth of the RV industry. So there are more RVs on the road than we have service bays to service them. Now, number 6 comes from number 5, and that is preference. So we all get in line at a dealership to get our RVs serviced. Well, the dealer has to make a few strategic decisions on how to handle that and who to service first. So there's something called preference. And the dealer is going to take the customer that bought from them and work on their unit before he's going to work on yours. And so service can be out a couple of days or a couple of weeks because they need to maintain a certain spacing for their own customers. Now, not everyone's going to like that, but it's just the way that it is. It's business. And when I'm the one that bought the coach from so-and-so dealer, I want to have the front of the line. And so it does kind of go around, and it's fair that way. But preference is another reason you might experience delays in service. The seventh thing that you need to understand about service, or that would help you, is the lack of maturity in servicing RVs. When you look at the automobile or the truck industry, they've been working on these things for a long time. And because of that, they have developed some very sophisticated tools, software troubleshooting tools. And because these builds are very consistent coming off of a line with mostly robots, everything is where it's supposed to be most of the time. A new technician even, for example, he comes out of school, he gets a few certifications, and part of his on-the-job training is how fast can you look up the diagnostic codes and the issues as these cars come in for service. So they have books that tell the technician, test this probe and put the wire here, and if you get a red light, then go look at this and then go here. So they have this kind of thing that they can step through and figure out what's going on. Nothing like that in the RV industry. There might be a few people that have some decision diagrams or some basics because these guys have been servicing these units for a long time. But in the sense of having full-blown diagnostic manuals with codes, troubleshooting steps, all of that, it just doesn't exist. So when you take your RV in for service, the technician that's looking at it, he's got to start from square one. He's got to start right at the bottom and go to the top and try to figure out what's going on. And keep in mind, not everything is going to be where it's supposed to be, so he's got to deal with that challenge as well. The eighth thing that I think that you need to know is kind of my own personal opinion, and that is the demographic. The type of RV customer that the RV industry is seeing nowadays is, I think, like nothing they've ever seen before. We are a now people. Service me now, entertain me now, feed me now, solve my problem now, take care of me now. This industry is not a now industry, and so I think that's causing some natural tension. Dealerships can't just pop out solutions like an app store. They just don't have that. It's not how it works. On a personal note, I wonder if maybe it hasn't been an issue because a lot of the demographic have been retirees, and maybe they're okay hanging out in the parking lot for a week. Maybe they have nowhere to go. I don't know. It's an opinion. But it's also my opinion that the customers I see nowadays are intense. They want to have the fun that they think they bought, and they want it now and yesterday. So that puts a lot of strain on the technicians and on the dealerships to try to stand up to that service and deliver what you're asking for. So can you see how people get into the industry and then their brains just melt down as they have these experiences and they don't understand because they're trying to map it to the closest thing they understand, which is trucks and car service. That's usually what we think about, but it's nothing like that. And so when they have the expectation of how the Ford dealership's going to treat them and they think that the RV dealer is going to treat them the same way, it's not, and it just creates conflict and problems. So I put out an earlier video, what you need to know before you buy an RV. I talked a little bit about that kind of information and the expectations that we have, but if we can address those and learn the things that we need to learn and play our part, we really can help the process go much smoother and help navigate an already difficult process to get the service that we need. So knowing this information can help reduce your anxiety and your stress if you just understand what you're walking into and help the service centers to help you. And there are some things that you just don't have control of, but you have to remember this is not a now industry. It just isn't, and they're not set up for it. There's a lot of things going on. Now granted, it's getting better and they're improving and they're working on it, but it's got a long way to go before it's a now industry. So be patient. Be prepared, make sure that you can replicate the problem when you go into service, and then be prepared to part with your RV for a little while they're working on it. And it's not going to be 2 days in most cases. Now, not everything about the RV industry is super glamorous and all rainbows and butterflies. But if we understand and play our role, it actually can be the greatest thing ever, and bring us so much fun and so much enjoyment. That makes it worth it to me. When I'm out on the road with my family, or I have the option to just pull over, I'm gonna go fishing, it looks like a nice lake, and I just have nowhere to be and I have my house with me. It's the greatest thing in the world. So just remember to balance that out in this whole equation. So through the thick and the thin, the good and the bad, this information can help you get to the fun faster.